Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon. We're former entertainment editors and lifelong reality TV addicts.
Unpacking the tea from the Traitors, Real Housewives, Bravo and beyond. Let's get stuck in. Hello everyone and welcome to the new season of So Many Receipts, which we are leading each week with the Traitors Australia. And of course, a very warm welcome back to my co-host, Shelley Seddon. Shell, can you tell our lovely listeners what you've been up to?
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank you for holding down the fort. You have done an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. It's God's work.
It is. So I did boring things. I moved house. I traveled around Australia a bit. And I did a fantastic retreat in Byron Bay with Jackie Gillies from the Real Housewives of Melbourne.
Oh my God, you have to tell us more about that at some point. Anyway,
Yes.
We'll be kicking off each show with Traitors stuff and also take a look back at some other shows, Housewives, etc., and finish up with our Storytime tales. So if you're new here, welcome aboard. And if you're a regular, it's great to have you back for this pod season. There's lots to come.
So I'm really hoping the Traitors catches on here because it's been such a hit in the US and the UK. And we were all obsessed, of course, with Snake Daddy Rob from the US version.
Yes.
But I actually loved the UK version as well with Alan Carr. He was such a nervous wreck being a traitor, but that's what made it so watchable. And overall, I think it's gotten off to a pretty good start here.
Oh, me too. But can we just start off with poor old Cam Merchant from Maths getting the boot after 3 minutes? I was actually a bit disappointed they made Shane pick someone to go home before the show even began. But I have a theory. I think producers thought if Shane picks someone who's one of our favourites, like Dicko's obviously a viewer favourite, then we'll just bring that person back at some point. But if she chooses someone who probably won't get a lot of airtime, then maybe that's kind of the end of them. And I think maybe Cam might be in that category. Sorry, Cam. I mean, if that is it for him, I would be so mad. And I'd be mad if I was his manager too. What a waste of time.
Yeah, the Cam thing didn't bother me at all. This is a total Traitors move. He will be back. This is not the last we've seen of Cam.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it because you've watched more Traitors than me.
Yes, but the thing I want to talk about is the lack of fashion.
It was so bad.
I guess I'm just used to Maura Higgins from the US Celebrity Traitors using the castle as her personal runway. She set the bar sky high as far as fashion goes. And it's worth watching the US version of Traitors just for Alan Cummings' over-the-top costumes alone. I have to say, at least poor Gamble made an effort with her pale blue suit and her poofy purse with the feathers. But girl, you have got to be dressed ready to go on these missions and compete. And you can't run in heels and you can't look for a shield if you are holding a handbag.
Although I'm giving Gamble a pass because at least she tried to honour the old brief, because this is a show where traditionally celebrities are supposed to dress up, aren't they? But with this, there was obviously no dress code. The untucked shirts, hoodies and bad leisure wear are sending me. And Alex Nation, why on earth are you doing confessionals in a brown jumper?
Well, in the US version, I know they have to do their own hair and makeup and be ready first thing in the morning to film the breakfast scene. They have no glam squad because of security, but they all still show up and look amazing. Then they have to go do a challenge. They come back and do a roundtable. This is a long day and you need to stay looking good. But of course, the one person from this cast who would actually serve looks, Queen, is murdered before she can even show us the sequin.
I know, such a missed opportunity.
Devastated. And I just have to say, lift your fashion game, Australia. I also thought picking Kirby as a traitor was a bit obvious.
Me too. I mean, all the survivors have a target on their back, but especially her because people can just sense she's crafty.
Yes. So you have your gamers who are the people from other reality competition shows, and they're all about strategy and being 5 steps ahead. And then you have the people who just show up and have no idea. There are usually a lot more gamers on Traitors, but I thought picking Alex was actually obvious as well, too. I'm not sure Kirby and Alex have that main character energy to carry this show. I just don't find them that interesting.
And I also thought how they voted out Queen was such a rookie move.
Exactly. I was like, WTF?
Yeah.
Of course, the first question everyone's going to ask is, who was Queen targeting? Whose name was in Queen's mouth? And now, that's Kirby, and Henry's onto her already. Duh.
So I'm also loving Gretel as the new host because I just think she's made for this role.
I do like Gretel, but I think it's a situation where they replaced a perfectly good host. I really liked Roger Corser. It's like Survivor. They replaced Jonathan LaPaglia when they didn't need to with David Gannett, who, for the record, is still my free pass.
Yeah.
I like David. I like Jonathan. I think Gretel's okay. She's channeling Miss Havisham from Great Expectations. I like Campy, and she's leading into it.
I never watched it with Roger, but then Channel 9 did let him host the floor. So at least he's now employed elsewhere, unlike poor JLP.
Yes. I also think it's interesting. They're not calling this celebrity traitors. It's just the traitors.
Well, given the awful ho-hum fashions, it's barely qualifying as celebrity at this point.
Yes, the bar is low. And also, don't you think it's weird they're shooting at Claremont Castle in New Zealand instead of the usual property in New South Wales?
Well, I read it's being produced by the NZ Traitors production team, and they're apparently using it to save costs.
Okay, that makes a little bit of sense at least. And I also want to mention the prize pot. In the UK version, it goes to charity, but in this version, the celebs get to keep the cash. I mean, does Chrissy Marsh really need 250K?
I'd say no. I don't think a Real Housewife deserves anything.
Yes.
Or needs anything.
But although most of this group has only had 1 or 2 seasons on a reality show years ago, so they're probably not rolling in cash. In the US version, they do give it to the players as well, like Rob Snake Daddy, who won the last season. He took all the cash home, although he did keep his promise and buy Maura her Birkin bag.
Yeah, so my favourite at the moment is Dicko. I'm going to be talking more about the years I spent interviewing Dicko in Storytime later, but I'm nervous. I think this is probably the first reality show where he might get bumped off early. He's too much of a threat.
I do think Dicko's strategy was fascinating. Don't bother hunting for traitors, just save yourself. I think he may be onto something, but unfortunately, he's too high profile with his alliance building, which puts a target on his back.
Yeah, so because you're more of a Traitors analyst than me, have you ever seen this block voting strategy to vote out someone, even if people think it's just a faithful? Have you seen that before?
I have never seen this before. It'll be interesting to see if it works, but it kind of goes against the whole intent of the game, which is hunting traitors.
Because we saw Gretel giving them all a producer in her ear dressing down saying, may I remind you players, it is supposed to be about finding traitors.
Yes, stay focused.
So I've had lots to say about Farmer throughout the season, but what did you make of it, Shell?
It was okay, but the thing that didn't work for me this season was that everyone was so young.
Too young and too silly, I reckon.
Dylan and Allie are the perfect example. Why are you looking for a wife when you're 24 years old, you work 16 hours a day, and you're chasing rodeos in your spare time?
I cringed every time he said chase and rodeos.
Yes, it was awful. And shocker, he ended up dumping Allie because she wanted to start a family and he wanted to focus on his career. Stop casting 20-somethings and cast older, more mature people. I want to start a petition to Golden Farmer Wants a Wife.
Yes, I would love that. Let's do that.
There was a lot of talk also this season about how it had turned into MAFs, mainly because of Miranda, I think, who got this horrible villain edit.
Yeah.
Basically, I think people thought she was too glamorous to be on a farm and that she was there for the wrong reasons. I thought it was very judgmental. You're saying just because someone likes to do their nails and wears makeup and dresses up that they're not cut out for farm life? It's reverse discrimination. Last year, people complained because some of the girls didn't wash their hair and didn't do their makeup. You can be high maintenance and live on a farm. These poor girls can't win.
But I don't see you living on a farm.
No.
Also, a lot of people were saying Miranda was too mean girl. Look, I think there was too much of the lady drama involving her, but I didn't mind her personally because I actually love a spicy villain.
I didn't mind Miranda. Because this season was such a disappointment, there have been rumors that they're going to revamp the show, including getting a new host. This is crazy to me. Joanna Griggs' name has been floated. Natalie is the one thing about this show that works. They better not come for Natalie again. They would be crazy to replace her.
Oh, that's right. Poor old Nat got the boot for Sam Armitage at some point, didn't she?
Yes.
So I didn't mind the season. Even if it's bad, it's still so bad it's so good in my books. And to the producers' credit, they tried something new. They tried to make it Love Island in the paddock with a bunch of hottie farmers. The problem is it flopped as they just weren't compelling enough for us to care.
I think that they can still have hot farmers, but hey, they can also have a dad bod.
So, look, I would retool it by making it 4 ladies going back to the farm. 5 is too many, I think. Then a 2-hour meal date with each one filmed over 2 days. That's more than doable production-wise and more than enough time for a guy to figure out if he's feeling it.
So film it like First Dates Australia.
Yes, and then quickly cut it down to 3 women to keep. That cuts down the drama and the overcrowding in the houses. Then really focus on showing the stories of the farmer and each of these relationships. Plus, you don't need elaborate dates at waterfalls and helicopter rides or country fairs. There was too much women interaction at these fairs.
I agree. I don't need to see them eating fairy floss and sitting on the same hay bales over and over again. I agree with you.
The same old blanket that they kept reusing every time. Then make the final choice several episodes before the end. Let's see how they do one-on-one and discuss serious issues like logistically moving to the farm, etc. The farmers all said that many of these discussions were cut out in the edit, but that's what audiences want to see. I don't get it. Producers, please take note. So as for the actual reunion show, it was a total non-reunion and had less shelf life than a carton of milk.
My main problem with the season, and this is pretty much all reality TV now, is that too much time goes by between filming and the show actually airing. And shooting for Farmer wrapped in November 2025. The reunion was shot not long after that in January, around January 5th. And so that's 7 months ago. And with social media, the 24-hour news cycle, there just needs to be a tighter turnaround. Too much time goes by, which leads to too many spoilers because so many things have changed.
They really need to workshop this. It was laughably outdated. So as soon as it aired, some outlets put out articles saying it was revealed at the reunion that 4 couples are still together. And I was thinking, are you for real? This was so long ago. How can you confidently publish this saying they're still together? Because everyone is guessing that most of them aren't. And surprise, surprise, within hours, it was revealed in an exclusive interview that Dylan dumped Ali just a month later, right as she was preparing to move to his farm.
Then Chatter News site wrote that Jason claimed Poppy dumped him just 1 week after in what he says was a 1-minute phone call, saying she just wasn't feeling it. Yikes.
Which leaves Farmer Jared and Brody. So I did some snooping. You know I love a snoop. And I was looking through Jared's TikTok page and noticed a few days ago that he's posted 8 videos with the hashtag single life. He's been using it since January 16, just a week after the reunion taped. He was still using it as recently as July 9, and I was like, oh my God, I bet I am the only person in Australia who has bothered to look through every one of these guys' TikToks and seen this. I've got to do a social media video about this.
Wow, that is some impressive detective work.
Thank you.
So he would have been briefed by the producers to keep a low profile and not use social media. How did this happen? Producers must have been furious.
Well, the thing is, all these shows take over castmates' Instagram accounts, but they just forget about their TikTok pages. I don't get it. So there were also split rumours circulating about this pair for a while. Last month it was reported Jared had supposedly reconnected with eliminated contestant Kaya, but she jumped into our comments on our video and confirmed there was actually nothing going on.
I knew that there was something off about Brody and Jared on the couch. They just had zero chemistry.
I thought she looked so uncomfortable, particularly when he said they might have a child together. Really? Anyway, they now have confirmed the split, but have not said when exactly. But I bet it was this week after the reunion because that's when he started telling TikTok he was single. So in order to be more authentic, I personally think the reunion should be taped 6 months later once the finale has aired. Even if they all told stories of how they'd since broken up, I would be more interested in that compared to the ancient history we just saw.
See, I think a better strategy would be to air the show as soon as possible after it's filmed because they want us to keep believing this fairy tale while the show's still on air.
So do you mean kind of film it 1 week and air it the next week if they can? But isn't that difficult production-wise?
Well, they need to find a way because the problem is if they show a reunion 6 months later, no one would be together. It would be bad PR for the show because everyone would be broken up. They need to keep it tight. Air everything as soon as possible because I feel viewers won't be invested in these relationships 6 months later. They won't even remember who these people are. They would have moved on to the next thing.
I mean, we did put a man on the moon in the 60s. Producers, you can do this. You can find a way. Take this on board. And by the way, speaking of chatter, hello, chatter. I've got a bone to pick with you. So after I did this Jared hashtag single life discovery as a post on our socials, Chatter then copied the story, which they did not credit so many receipts for.
It's so annoying. It makes me so mad. And now other news sites have copied the Chatter story.
Well, I mean, I'm flattered, guys, but Chatter should have at least uploaded the video into the story. We also broke a lot of exclusives during maths, and the same thing happened with so many outlets copying our stuff, but I guess that's just the media game for you. So Zach and Maya seemed happy at the reunion and have also confirmed they are still dating 8 months later, long distance. But just before this aired, Grace and Miranda both threw some shade at Zach. Grace posted, had so much fun on Sparky Wants a Girlfriend. Then Miranda followed with, when someone asks me how was Farmer Wants a Wife, but I only know it as Sparky Wants a Girlfriend.
Ouch, ouch. That's a pretty solid burn.
Yes, sure was. So Zach was introduced to us as a third-generation apple farmer who works in the family orchard during harvest, but in the off-season it's emerged he's also an electrician and aircon installer working at a well-known electrical business.
If I live in South Australia, I'm going to be calling O'Brien and asking for Zach to come fix my lamp or come install my aircon. So it's actually good for that company.
Brian. Is that it?
Yes.
Good ad for them anyway. And they actually were the ones that ended up putting out the pictures of him working for them. They've actually benefited from this. But it was kept a secret all season long. So what actually qualifies someone to even go on the show these days? What exactly is a farmer?
Well, we had the same issue last year when Jared Wrigley turned out to be a country music singer and also did casual farm work. Meanwhile, Dylan works on his family sheep farm, but we know his main focus is chasing rodeos, bronc riding, and running his Western clothing brand.
However, he's a tradie as well. According to Who, he also works as a plumber, which, again, they did not mention that on the show. Now, look, often people in region Australia, they do have other jobs because farming can be seasonal and unpredictable.
So does having another career mean you're not really a farmer? Is farming the side hustle, or is the tradie work the side hustle? And if you're part of a family farm business, is that enough to qualify you as a farmer?
So many issues with this show. Well, I personally think there's a big difference between someone who occasionally works on a farm and someone whose life is built around one, although it is a tricky one. Like, where do you draw the line?
See, this is why we need the older farmers. Next season, they need men who are more established in their farming careers. Let me say it again, golden farmer.
Yes, it's time for the golden oldies to shine. It totally revamped The Bachelor, so why not?
So the Real Housewives of Orange County are back for their 20th season, and I have to say, I'm underwhelmed.
Yes, I mentioned your overall dissatisfaction with the show a few weeks ago.
Yes, I heard that. And after 3 seasons watching this, I still don't get it. Housewives are meant to be aspirational, glamorous, and I'm going to say it. These are some basic bitches. So I will make an exception for Heather Dubrow. I want to know, is Vicky really that interesting? She lives in Puerto Vallarta, not exactly a dream destination. And then you've got Emily, Jen, Gina, meh. And the newbie Carmela, she's a former Playboy Playmate and WWE wrestler. I think that's all we really need to know about her. And Shannon and Tamara are just horrible people.
Well, speaking of Shannon, what is going on with her? There have been so many stories lately about her allegedly being a nightmare to work with and just awful to be around. So recently we had former Real Housewives producer Patrick McDonald commenting under a post from podcaster Heather McDonald, no relation, saying it was wild watching Shannon lose it at producers and crew before cameras rolled, yelling, screaming and swearing, only to instantly switch on the performance once filming began.
Didn't he describe her as one of the most miserable and narcissistic housewives across the entire franchise?
Yes, mic drop. So Shannon was recently on comedian Jamie Kennedy's podcast. I saw her grab on Instagram and she was like, people are making such a big deal about my behaviour. But she was also pissed off at Heather McDonald, who parodied Shannon in this hilarious post, basically pointing out how Shannon's doing such bad acting this season, falling about, pretending to trip over in all of her scenes.
I noticed that too. I think everyone did. It's so slapstick.
Vaudeville.
I don't want to watch the Golden Girls. I'm going to predict Shannon is going to break a hip for sure. She's just an accident waiting to happen.
It'll be like when Carrie needed a hip replacement and just like that.
Yes.
Or maybe she's trying out for an MTV award. I don't know. Then Jamie said he laughed at the Heather McDonald skit and then Shannon seemed irritated with him too. Anyway, they also talked about this controversy at the Quiet Woman, that OC restaurant where they seem to film absolutely everything. Is this the OC's version of Vanderpump Rules?
Maybe the waiters are hoping to do conventionals.
So Shannon explained she was bothered when Andy Cohen was given the bill after they recently dined there with several housewives. She said the Quiet Woman has benefited enormously from being featured on the show so much. And because Andy Cohen was dining there, the restaurant should have agreed to free meals for everyone before the bill even arrived. So she had stern words with the staff about it. The owner said no one had ever discussed giving away the meals because they're a small business with tight margins. Okay, fair enough.
Andy himself happily paid the $519 bill with a generous tip, which to me actually seems pretty cheap for 7 people.
Yeah.
And after he paid, the manager did offer to rip up the bill, presumably after Shannon got in his ear. But Andy said, don't worry, no problem. I mean, he can just expense it, right?
Yeah, what was the big deal? He's loaded.
Well, there was also apparently another incident at the Quiet Woman, which clearly needs a rebrand, like the Not So Quiet Woman. During filming of The Ultimate Girls Trips, the OGs stopped in the OC and Tamara and Shannon made a guest appearance. They got into this explosive fight at the Quiet Woman, and it was so bad, the producers cut them from the show's finale at Bluestone Manor.
So this is the upcoming OG Ultimate Roaring 20s thing that we're going to see soon, right?
Yes, next week. It premieres next week. And they have this big end of trip finale party at Bluestone Manor, and they were apparently cut from that.
Oh, dear. Anyway, all of this Shannon stuff brings me to someone we probably need to make amends with. Joel Kim Booster. So we gave poor old Joel, host of the Housewives show Love Hotel, a bit of a spray last year on the So Many Receipts podcast because after working with Shannon on the show, Joel posted that explosive Instagram story about her saying, just because you're a pathetic drunk on a reality TV show best known for a string of failed relationships and a DUI does not give you license to treat the people you work with like they are subhuman, period. They will make me delete this, but DM me if you'd like to see some videos. Bezos.
So you gave Joel a bit of a spray, not me. I wasn't mad at it.
Okay.
He's on this Apple TV show called Lou with Maya Rudolph that I love, so I knew who he was and I liked him. I didn't think he was a good fit for Love Hotel, though, but he was later forced to apologize for the rant, and he said he was bipolar. He obviously was silenced by the powers that be.
Well, I just thought he was probably exaggerating about her behaviour and that he was kind of unprofessional as a host for saying that about a castmate, even though it was kind of iconic. However, I've got to say it, justice for Joel.
It was completely unprofessional to post that about Shannon, but what fabulous tea for all of us. And he probably is feeling vindicated now. Justice for Joel.
Storytime, and Ian Dicko Dickson is undoubtedly one of the big stars of the Traitors, getting a lot of airtime at the moment. I am praying he doesn't get eliminated too soon because he is reality TV gold.
He's one of those people who just understands reality TV, and he creates these moments without even trying.
True. And it got me thinking about my own history with Dicko because going back over the years, I actually interviewed him multiple times. So the first time I ever met Dicko was during the very first season of Australian Idol way back in 2003. I was writing for NW magazine and was introduced to the judges on set, Marsha Hines, Mark Holden and Dicko. Now, Marsha and Mark were very smiley. Marsha was sort of portrayed as the mum of the show. Mark was the wacky one, but Dicko just turned around in his chair and bellowed, "Hello," at me in this loud, stern voice, completely unsmiling. It was kind of intimidating.
Which became the persona he was known for.
Yes, back then, the nasty judge. So the media had been warned he was going to be the mean villain judge. But usually when you interview celebrities, they often drop the act. Like they're usually smiling insanely at you, right, before you've even started the questions because they want you to write nice things about them. But he didn't smile. So it was like, ooh, looking back, I realised he was just leaning into that villain judge persona. But I also think he was cautious with the media because he didn't know the celebrity game at that point. At the time, I actually couldn't even work out why he was even on the show because he was this ordinary guy working at a record company.
Well, it was such a different era then too, right? Because we weren't used to these ordinary people becoming famous just because they had big personalities.
Exactly. But of course, he was a natural and he became the breakout star of Idol. Over the next few years, I interviewed him probably another 5 or 6 times, and each time he became warmer. And by the end, I genuinely really liked him. He's very funny and smart. He has this dry, British, cynical sense of humour, and he's also pretty down to earth.
Well, I have a friend who worked with him on Celebrity Apprentice, and she said he was a great guy, really lovely.
I love it when celebrities don't act like they're above everyone else. He's sort of the kind of person who seems like he'd happily chat with anyone. So I remember doing a story with him at his home in Sydney one time, and from vague memory, we ended up going down to the local pie shop and eating pies together.
A dirty street pie? A dirty street pie with Dicko?
No. Then I spent time with him in Vanuatu when they filmed Australian Celebrity Survivor in 2006. Dicko was the host and I was doing a story on him for New Idea. I asked him my absolute bulletproof interview question. This has yielded so many jaw-dropping answers from people over the years, and this is all it is. What has been your biggest challenge in life and how have you dealt with it? And he just casually said, alcohol.
Wow, that's a pretty big thing to share with a journalist.
Yeah, he really opened up to me. I think he really trusted me, which was nice. So he spoke honestly about struggling with drinking and the pressure of being in the public eye. And I remember thinking, wow, I've never heard of him talking about this publicly before. And of course, in my head, I was saying, oh my God, thank you, Dicko. Exclusive cover line. Yes. That's my line. And then months later, the Sunday Telegraph ran this big story with exclusive Dicko's battle with booze. And I was like, are you kidding? I broke this story months ago.
Typical, the first of many.
And he's continued to be honest over the years, saying alcohol is something he needs to manage ongoing. He also told me back then he hoped hosting Celebrity Survivor would become a regular gig because it was difficult not knowing where the next job was coming from. But unfortunately, that version of the show didn't take off and Seven never revisited it again. And I was actually surprised he never landed another huge long-term TV role because he had so much personality, but then again, maybe he didn't like the unpredictability. So over the years, he ended up moving away from Sydney to the Sunshine Coast. He returned to managing music people and created regional music events, but he's popped up every now and then on TV ever since. Listen to this. He came third on Dancing with the Stars in 2005. He won Celebrity Apprentice in 2012, and he finished third on I'm a Celebrity in 2023.
That's actually a pretty incredible reality TV resume.
Well, it proves that people like watching Dicko, but as we mentioned, I don't think he'll last to the end on this one.
I actually thought he might get kicked off first.
Me too, and I was panicking because I was like, I haven't even talked about you yet.
Yes.
So that's all for our first Traitors-led So Many Receipts podcast. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
Join us again next week.